guest lecturer over here, Professor Mr. Subrata Das. So he is here for us to have a session on the impact of spirituality on the workplace. So that's the interesting topic we have today. And as we are all spending like most of our time in the workplace, it's we go every day. A lot of aspects in the working place, like dealing with the customers, and then many timelines which we have to complete on that particular timelines of the task. And then sometimes we go on the pressure and stress in the workplace. And today's session is going to be like interesting, which Dr. Subrata Das is going to have. And in this, he's going to talk about the topic on spirituality, which is he'll be a little bit touch base on the meditations, yoga, and how those type of practices is going to support in our workplace. And he himself practiced like most of the days he woke up like 3 a.m. in the morning, and then he practices this many of the aspects on the yoga, meditation, and other spiritual activities. And today we are glad, and it's much appreciated for your presence, Mr. Subrata Das. And he's in our office at Bangalore. And this session, which we thought like to make it online, virtual also, so that other members across the organization, and also for many other, as we are going to like share this particular content in our Qualpedia, where our knowledge sharing platform, so that that can be get supported and help for other professionals also who are working in this industry. So short introduction about this session. With this, I will hand over this session to Dr. Subrata Das, senior professor from Bannari Amman Institute of Technology. And so thank you very much, Mr. Das, and coming over here. So welcome to you. Welcome on this session. And over to you, Dr. Das.
Here, what is this? Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Prasanna, and thank you, the team of RSJ and also the Qualpedia, for giving me this opportunity to talk in a subject which is a little different than our activities that what we normally do in our organizations or in our institutes or anywhere. But the things which are important here, that we have to control ourselves, okay, control our mind, okay, control our different activities what we do normally. So that's why this topic we have chosen here, just to give some awareness. I am not a spiritual guru to give you the techniques, but I can share with you the personal experience with me also, and I will also take the views of yourself, that when and how you will do all these activities, or you have already done the activities, or you have experienced certain things, you will share in this forum. So this will be an interactive session in Qualpedia, and we'll start with it now. So today we are talking about the impact of practicing spirituality in the workplace. Now, when we are talking about the spirituality, we will talk about in this forum that what do you mean by spirituality, and then we will go about different instruments which are there in practicing spirituality in the workplace. Then we'll talk about in the span of life, what are the impacts are there in spiritual practices in our life and in the workplace. And then we'll also talk about the outcome of practicing spirituality in the workplace. And also we will share two important videos regarding spirituality and how it practices and what is the importance of it in the workplace. So let us start with the word spirituality. I do not know how many people knows about this spirituality, this word. So that's why I want to little bit of give certain significance of this word spirituality. Starting with this different words which are used here. So as you can see on the screen that different words are having their different meaning in spirituality. The first word, it is very important that our human sense, okay? So spirituality talks about different human senses. Then talks about P, it is the personal. So spirituality we practice and personal improvement will be there and how it will affect in the workplace. Then we will talk about I, that is the insight. So we will come into the insight of our mind while practicing the spirituality. Spirituality also depends upon the religion sometimes. So religious nature of spirituality, that is also involved in this word. Interest, it is very important that practicing spirituality, one can really practice spirituality in a mechanical way, okay? But there are certain ways that people at their own interest do these practices of spirituality. So that is important. This is universal. That's why it is you in this spirituality word. So it is universally accepted, this practice of spirituality, and universe is also involved in these spiritual practices. Then comes A. A is the acceptance. What you will accept, okay? Accepting the love. L is there. I is the integrity, and T is the truthfulness. So you can see that all these words are together in spirituality, and each word is having their own significance while we are talking about spirituality. And final word comes in the form of you, that is nothing but the God. So spirituality finally will roam around God only, and God's grace is very much required when anybody is practicing spirituality, irrespective of different religion. So I think you people can understand now that spiritual word itself, it is already having its own meaning, and it gives the significance of what we want to achieve from this spirituality. So in this session, we'll talk about those things in detail now. Next. We'll now see with a short video what do we mean by spirituality.
People all around the world have been wondering about what is spirituality ever since the beginning of our origins, and yet there isn't a clear definition about it. Many philosophical-minded people have come with different theories and explanations about what spirituality is, and some of them are worth investigating and explaining a bit further. This video is about bringing as many perspectives as possible together, as well as my own thoughts and ideas about what spirituality is, in order to come up with the best possible explanation. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Alright, as I said earlier, spirituality doesn't really have a specific definition. it can actually be defined in many ways. This is probably one of the reasons why this has become such a controversial topic. I've personally met quite a few people who associated this term with New Age hippies, cults, religions, belief systems, dogmas, or other traditions around the world. Well, surprise, surprise, spirituality is none of that. In fact, it is the exact opposite of what you shall discover in just a moment. One of the best and probably most comprehensive ways of describing spirituality that I came across is by defining it as the process of making the mind free from fears, worries, and non-stop thinking, and experiencing inner peace and bliss in one's everyday life. In a way, spirituality is about making peace with the universe. It's about accepting the facts as they are and trying to live in harmony. Spirituality is about training yourself being less reactive to the events happening in your life by freeing yourself from the monkey mind. Some of the most effective spiritual practices involve meditation, yoga, self-inquiry, as well as psychedelics and deep breathing. Spirituality is the process of awakening from ordinary consciousness, rising above the ego, and awakening to a wider consciousness. It can mean expanding the mind beyond its limitations, thoughts, and limited viewpoints about life and the universe. Besides that, spirituality is oftentimes associated with metaphysics. In a way, these words are synonyms because the quintessence of spirituality is asking deep, metaphysical questions about reality, such as, what is thought? What is ego? Where did the universe come from? Why am I here? What is reality? And so on. Spirituality is nothing more than philosophy, which in fact is another good synonym. You see, by being spiritual doesn't mean that you're subscribing to a certain belief system. It's the exact opposite of that. You're trying to deconstruct everything that you know by questioning the very nature of reality. Let's take materialism as an example here. 99.9% of the people on this planet believe the world is a material place because it seems that way. Nobody has ever risen the possibility of that being nothing but a mirage. None of your friends, co-workers, teachers, or family members have ever questioned if that is actually true. And yes, that's exactly right. None of them did so because they are not spiritual. They've accepted and taken for granted every bit of information as if it was given to them. And instead of accepting other ideas and treating them as your own, spirituality done properly is the investigation and questioning of those ideas. At first, it might not seem that way, but real spirituality is about questioning and exploring the deepest truths of the universe with the ultimate purpose of aligning yourself with the divine, making yourself free from fears, worries, and living in the present moment. But to further clarify this aspect, how about diving a little bit deeper on what spirituality is not? I believe the main reason why there are so many misconceptions about this topic is just because people don't take enough time in researching this incredible field. It is much easier to dismiss something by demonizing it and calling it a cult, a religion, belief system, or New Age nonsense than taking the actual time to think and to investigate all these ideas. The first point I want to make is that spirituality is not the same as religion, because spirituality doesn't involve blind faith, obedience to authority, or following the rules. On the contrary, real spiritual people are most likely on their own. Furthermore, spirituality doesn't mean filling your mind with beliefs or fantastical ideas such as world peace. It is not about holding ideologies about the world. On the opposite, it is the acceptance of facts and the embracement of the truth exactly as they are given. And lastly, spirituality is not about worshiping anybody, not a god, not gurus, and not even ideas. At the core of it, real spirituality done properly is a very deep pursuit which doesn't involve any authority figure. So this is what spirituality is. Now I hope you have a better understanding. At first, it might not seem that way, but spirituality is also very practical. Because this field deals with abstract things, people have a hard time grasping the benefits of such big ideas. Because These things are not normally experienced by most human beings. Learning about yourself, deconstructing your old beliefs, asking deep metaphysical questions about the universe, and contemplating about life is what is going to ultimately make you happy in life. Living in harmony for the rest of your life without any worries or fears is possible as long as you're serious enough and you dedicate the right amount of time doing this work. Please click that like button for me if you like this video, and let me know in the comments down below where you find.
So, right, we have understood little bit about what is spirituality, and now we'll talk about spirituality in the workplace, and how it is important in the workplace. So, if you see what is the aim of spirituality in the workplace? So, number one is the self-awareness. So, when we do the spirituality, the practices or exercises on spirituality, we understand ourselves. Okay, self-awareness comes into this, and the consequence of that is the stress level. You see, when you are aware of yourself, that what you are doing, you can automatically reduce your stress in the mind. Okay, and number third aim of this spirituality is ethical and moral development. We are doing our works, so a lot of ethics are involved in our day-to-day work. Okay, and sometimes the morality comes into the play. So ethical and moral development both happens when we practice the spirituality. So this is one of the greatest outcome of spirituality, to understand that ethical and moral values of ourselves. There are a lot of examples available with this ethical and moral development, especially in the medical and other engineering practices also. Sometimes in a bigger operations like this, there are certain ethics in the operations. Okay, but certain things are there where doctor's moral value will come into the picture, whether we should implement that in the operation theater or not. So a lot of such instances are available and stories are available on this ethical and moral ground. So what we are doing, we have to balance ourselves while doing our work, that ethical and moral values should not conflict with each other while we are doing the work. Next. Now, in the corporate world, when we are seeing the corporate world, so different perspectives are there in the business, okay, and different views are also there in this business. And when you are talking about the human values, okay, which talks about the spirituality, number one is the honesty. Very, very important in the workplace, that what we are doing the work, whether we are doing honestly or not. So that comes from the spirituality or spiritual practices. It cannot be just forcing somebody to do the good practices. Okay, sometimes it happens due to some genetical development in the human body. Okay, but that can be overcome again with these practices of spirituality. So honesty is one of the most important part which we can inculcate by practicing spirituality, and which has having great value in our workplace. Second one is the integrity. What we are doing, so really it is doing correctly, okay, and we are doing the justice of our work. That talks about the integrity. And many times what happens, that what we are doing the work, though we are doing or completing the office work correctly, but it somehow conflict with other activities. Okay, suppose I am giving an examples. Some people are working in an organization, okay, like 8 to 5, and after 5 o'clock sometimes he goes to another organizations to work, and he also earns money due to that, maybe around 7 to 9 or somewhere like that. So if it is a similar kind of work or similar kind of customer, he works in that fashion, So it conflicts actually, and integrity of that person will be under doubt. Okay, and sometimes in this professionalism, we talk about a word called white lies. Sometimes people talks about white lies. Okay, about this. If anybody asks them whether you are involved in some other activities, that person tells yes, we are not involved, but actually he is involved in this. So integrity of the persons, that's why is very important, and it helps. Spirituality helps to improve the integrity of a person's while he is doing the work. And finally, when we are satisfying all the requirements of our work and we produce the good results, so we talk about it is a good quality work we have done. So each and every organization, that's why these practices are very important, whether it is a production unit or it is a service oriented industry, that honesty, integrity, these two makes an organization successful in by practicing this spirituality. Spirituality also improves that when we are talking with our co-workers. So how we are talking with our co-workers? Sometimes we talk in a very harsh way. That is because of the tension. Your boss will talk to do certain works, okay, in a very harsh manner sometimes. Okay, so that's why it is important that how we are talking with our employees. Very important how we are treating with our co-workers into that. Where we are doing it in a correct way, in a responsible way, caring way. So those kind of things, improvement is possible. If you are not doing, you can do it from today, and by doing certain practices on yourselves and improve the workplace culture. So it will create an unbiased environment with ethical and moral values inside these organizations. So spirituality in corporate world, that's why is very important, and this is also a part of CSR practices in any organizations. So those kind of values can be embedded in that organizations by doing these practices. Next. Now, how we'll do this spirituality in the workplace? Okay, different methods are available, and participating on those kind of different activities are very important for the groups, and different ways it is there that we'll see in the form of prayer, in the form of meditations, or intuitive guideline at work sometimes helps also. And as I was talking about the CSR, that if we achieve all these things, then business will become socially responsible, and how it impacts the environment, it will give community the proper service, and ultimately will create a better world by doing all these practices of spirituality. Next. Now, very important to understand that different instruments to achieve the spirituality. So one of them I was talking about the prayer. Now, what is a prayer? Okay, it is praying of God one way, or praying certain things which are spiritual in nature, spiritual mantras and all these things. So prayer is very important in spiritual practices in workplace. The religion doesn't conflict into this. There are a lot of good prayers are available, maybe very short duration, maybe 5 to 6 minutes. So that prayer will help in many ways in inculcating spirituality in human being. Meditation, of course, is very important, because it will first of all, it will map your mind in the right directions. Okay, if anybody practices meditations, so that kind of mental mapping will definitely improve by doing some meditations. You see, meditation can be done in various ways. Meditation can be a blank meditations kind of thing, by not thinking of others, only just see the mind, how the mind works. If you leave the mind as such, it is a blank way. Meditation can also be done with some God, depending upon the religion of certain people. One can think about a God. Okay, so that is also one of the meditations. Okay, meditations can also be in a different form, that you are in the universe. Okay, and what you are doing in the universe. And very, very important thing here is that doing meditations and how the spirituality increases. If you are the very starting point of your meditations, if you can see that if you sit for a minute and try to practice this, that you are there in the universe and what you are doing. So you can find very, very difficult for you, because lot of other influential factors are there of your work will come into the picture. My boss has given this work. My customer is telling like that, I have to go to this industry to do this audit inspections and other things. So how will deal with the people? Then my family, when I go back to this our office, from office to the house, there are lot of certain other responsibilities come into the picture. So within 1 minute, you will experience many things into that. But don't be afraid or don't be disappointed. This will happen. In meditation, that's why it is a huge amount of practice is required in these meditations. So maybe today 1 minute is difficult for you, but if you practice it for a month or 2 months, 3 months, you can find this improvement in your, and this will ultimately improve your the spiritual practices or spiritual, that inner thoughts. You can control your inner thoughts by doing these meditations. Very, very important instrument for this spirituality. Yoga, yes, yoga is a.
Sir, one question
Yeah.
related to this meditation.
Yeah.
As you said, like lots of thoughts, it used to come.
Mhm.
Like when you're sitting for meditation,
Yeah.
even I sit like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
like at least 3 days in a week.
Mm-hmm.
And when I sit the 15 minutes, like maybe like around 50,000 thoughts comes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No, more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to think like how to reduce that thoughts, and then whether I'm not doing the practice correctly or that I learned that practice.
Mm-hmm.
But even if I focus and I do my like I put my all efforts that I should not get any other thoughts, but it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as you said, this email needs to be sent, that flight needs to be followed up, and maybe this things has to be
Yes.
completed, or maybe some housework. So all those things comes. So is there any like way to avoid that particular aspect?
Yeah. So this is a very, very important thing that Mr. Prasanna has raised. You see that I also experienced this one, this kind of activities and all these things. Now, what is the solution of this kind of taking out from rest of the world? Is that to concentrate your mind in certain places of your body. So it is very difficult practice. Sometimes I'm not talking about the religion, because religion is having different gods and goddess and all these things. Okay. But if I see without connecting the religion with the spirituality, what is the actually gurus and all these things they normally says. So in that, you concentrate in the mind in any of the parts of your body. Okay. So concentrate into that. Concentrate your mind into the forehead. Okay, and try to find it out that you are concentrating on the toes. Sometimes you are concentrating on the leg. You are concentrating on the upper body. So slowly, if you go to the head and all these things. So first job in the meditation is to concentrate our mind in certain parts of the body. It starts with that. Okay, starts, and then you can go slowly. You can find that next step, that you will free yourself from your body and try to go into the universe. That is also another kind of very, very important universe, which many of the organizations they teach also how to do that in that real world, or when you are practicing the meditations. So you will feel very light into that. When you concentrate in your mind in different parts of the body, and you tell yourself that you are becoming lighter and lighter and lighter into that. So it actually will take out the thought process, that materialistic thought what Mr. Prasanna was telling. So all will definitely will vanish when you concentrate in that fashion and practice it on regular basis. It is not that today I will do the meditations and after that another 3-4 days I will do. It is a regular practice is very important. Important also is the timing when you are doing the meditation. You have to fix yourself also that certain amount of time. The best part of this meditation is to do 3:30 to 5:30 in the morning. So this is actually has been advocated by many of the gurus and many of the organizations who are involved in these spiritual practices. So best part is the 3:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. If you try to do the practicing this meditation during this time, now universe that we are talking about in spirituality word, that universe is very, very important. So universal, that universe will help you in practicing these meditations. God will help you, in other words, to get the success in meditations in that. Because you see that during this period, there is some scientific, this one involved also. Terminology is involved into this word, 3:30 to 5:30. Why you are choosing? Because that time the negative energy in the world is little less. Okay, after 5:30, the all these energies are coming and mixed together. So when the world is full of positive energies, okay, if you try to do meditation during that time, you will get huge amount of success into that. This is one of the very, very important way of doing the meditations. There is another very important aspect of meditations, and I'm just helping you out that how to start up with these meditations. I'm not talking about that when you go to the very high level of thoughts and doing these meditations. Now second level is that how you are practicing the meditations. You see, meditation you have to practice it. It is not like that suddenly you want to meditate certain things, you will never be successful. There are very important aspects like your posture during the meditations. Okay, if you sleep or if you are laying down in the bed and do the meditation, it will never be successful. I am very sure about it. Okay, now at any posture, meditation cannot be successful. Best posture of this meditation, you have to use certain kind of asanas. So yogas, that's why comes into the picture. So those kind of dhanasans that we do the meditations with these kind of gods, we think about the god. So those kind of posture is very, very important. Your body, how it is, it should be straight. Your spinal movement, spinal cords and all these things must be very, very straight, and it must be inclined with your head and all these things. Okay, the posture, timing, these are very, very important apart from the thought. Okay, how you are doing this meditations kind of thing, and you will get a huge amount of success into this when you concentrate in your mind into certain parts of the body, and you feel lighter and lighter and lighter during this process of meditations. And I'm talking about the meditation for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, as Mr. Prasanna was telling, 15 minutes, but there are certain ways when the meditations can be done beyond that also, like when you increase the timing of meditations. Okay, so that is different. Then different type of god or the goddess, that also will come into the picture. You can do a lot of pujas, even a very high level of meditation to talk about, not to go into the different temples, church or masjids and all these things. You can do it at home also. You can do the prayer at home also by sitting at your place with a proper posture, and you can do the pujas without using any flower, without using any kind of other materials which are useful. But that is very, very difficult to do. That is in the thought you are doing. So that comes from thought, that comes from the meditations only, that you are doing the pujas during the kind of meditations. This is very, very important, and this is a high level of achievement. Actually, that meditation comes at that level. Okay, various spiritual guru advocates this fact also, that you need not to go to any temple or any other things to practice the spirituality or show your devotions to the god. You can do by yourselves, because god is there within yourselves. So you have to only practice it to motivate that particular area, and you will get the success out of it. So meditation plays an important role. I feel I answered your questions in great detail.
Yeah, thank you,
about this.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. And next part is the yoga. You know, the yoga plays an important role. People doesn't think that yoga is only for practicing your health kind of issues and all these things. Of course, the lot of health benefits are there with the yogas, but yoga also is giving lot of you can see beneficial effect in the spirituality that I was talking about, the postures. So a lot of asanas are there in that one can practice those asanas also, and they can concentrate their mind. It is basically we are talking about the mind. Okay, we are trying to control our mind. We are trying to map our mind in certain directions. Then only all this honesty, integrity, caring for the people, all these things will come, which talks about the CSR activities in any organizations. Okay. So yogas plays an important role. There are various kind of yogas. Some yogas are there for only for curing human body. Okay, some yogas are there for practicing prayer, practicing meditations, all this there. So many people, they do the yogas to connect with God also. Okay, many such kind of yogas are also available. So practicing yoga with the meditation is very important. That's why, and there is also another important part, which is that is the pranayams. You see, the yogas and pranayams go together. Okay, pranayams should be attached to the yogas. So yogas cannot be big, because we are ultimately doing control of our mind and doing our breathing. Okay, how we'll breathe ourselves, that also is playing an important role in yogas. So pranayams help into that. So most of the yogas, that's why if it tries with the pranayams, modified yogas, that will help also to control our mind, body, etc. Now, one of the very important what I feel into this kind of practicing these yogas and meditation is that suppose at the end of the previous day, when you are coming from your office or your workplace, you feel totally exhausted. Okay, so nothing is there that you cannot be successful in life and all these things. You are burdened with so much problem, so much work, and all these things are there. But when you practice these yogas in the early morning and you come to the work, okay, you can find the different kind of benefits out of it. Nothing will be there in your mind. Everything will be vanished from your mind, what was there in the previous day. Okay, so that kind of practice also is very important, because if you carry forward the all the things previous days material, if you want to carry forward in your mind, so you cannot work as a proper human being into that. Always that will reflect in your different works and all these things in the next day. So that you have to forget about it. By doing these spiritual practices will help you out. Do these meditations and yogas and all these things will definitely help you out to do this. If you do at a particular time, particular postures and particular period of this one, when you are doing on a regular basis, this is very important. This must be practiced on a regular basis. So if you do that, definitely your all other improvement you can notice yourselves by practicing it. And this will not take 1 year time. You will get the result within 1 month of time. 30 days enough for this to get the real effect of this kind of practices of yogas with pranayams and also with the meditations. Now, next important part is the very important part also, the silent sitting. Unfortunately, we cannot sit silently. Human being cannot sit silently. Okay. Until and unless he is God gifted, certain things are there with them. God has given them special power to that person. Otherwise, common human being silently, one if you tell one person to sit for 1 minute, even he cannot sit idle into that. Silence and all these things in the mind is not possible. So until and unless you map your mind into that directions, so that silent sitting is very important. Suppose I am giving an examples. Suppose you are very much tired certain times, you are very much annoyed, you are very much depressed about your failures. Okay, so these kind of things happens in the workplace. Okay, I think you people are all experiencing this. Now the silent sitting in that, it will help you a lot. Not more than 10 minutes, you just sit for silently without knowing the problems and all these burdens which are there. Just silently sitting for 10 minutes, it will help you out to exhaust all your burdens, all your mental weariness, everything will be automatically, it will be vanished. If you can practice this silent sitting for 10 minutes of time only in any workplace. Okay, silent sitting, not in posture or all these things where you are working. You sit silently for 10 minutes. Okay, thoughts and all these things. You detach yourself from your works and all these things. You can get lot of ideas, lot of things will develop into it. Now, one of the very interesting part, actually, I will also share with you, like replying emails. This is one of the very important things in today's industry, that we should connect with these customers. We should reply with the customers on time and all these things. So customers also want that immediately one must reply to me within 24 hours time and all these things. So those things are there. Sometimes what happens, this is very practical through my experience also, I'm telling to you, that in the workplace what happens, sometimes some provocating mails have come to you, and you tend to answer the mail very quickly to remove all the stresses from your mind, but ultimately it is not helping you out. Okay, you are creating difficulties for you by giving very rapid rocket answers. We call it as a rocket answers. So this is not at all desirable, okay, in the workplace, especially when you are dealing with very important customers like this. You should think yourselves, okay, give some time to digest that particular words, particular sentence and all these things, and then you give the reply. Like today some mail has come, please do not reply it, those kind of complicated emails immediately. You think about yourselves, think, discuss with the seniors, and then you reply in the next day, instead of replying the rocket reply kind of thing we tell in our language kind of thing. Instead of giving that, give some time. You can see many of the problems you can solve by yourself by giving the reply, by taking some time. Okay, you get a lot of time to reply yourselves. Okay, this I learned actually from my work, this one work practices and all these things, that we should not react immediately to certain areas. We should silently think about ourselves. That's why the silent sitting is very important, and this is also a part of spirituality. Okay. Now, next important area is the chanting mantras. You know, when I'm talking about the mantras, it can be from any religion. It is not connected with the spirituality. But one of the practice I can say from religion of like Hinduism, if I take examples, that there is one particular mantra is there which gives lot of your power, a lot of energy to yourself, is the Hanuman Chalisa. Very simple and very easy to chant. Okay, Hanuman Chalisa. So this is, they are having the 40 slokas in it. I advocate myself because I got lot of energy, lot of your we can say that the power from that mantras and all these things, and all the mental worries and all these things will suddenly vanish from your this one. If you can chant this Hanuman Chalisa, the 40 Hanuman Chalisas, those slokas and all these things on regular basis. It is not like today I will chant and another 1 week I will not do anything. Morning and evening you should chant certain kind of mantras on regular basis, at least 15 to 20 minutes, to inculcate the spirituality, to develop certain kind of human values into you. So the chanting of mantras, that's why is very important. It is not like Hanuman Chalisa only, is maybe Gayatri mantras or many other mantras are also available in this area. But whatever we chant ourselves, okay, we chant, it gives the positive energy. It maps our thinking power and all these things. It controls our emotions and all these things. So mental stress will automatically getting disappear if you chant such mantras and all these things. And spiritualism talks about, if you talk about certain mantras for certain period of time, your mental ordinance so definitely will go, but spiritually you will become a very perfect person also if you do that. Okay, moksha also people talks about in Purans and all these things. They get the mokshas also by chanting that one for a certain period of time. So that is the your instrument that helps in achieving the spirituality. Now, last part is the listening to grasping the religious scriptures. So, a lot of things are there, religious books, religious words, and all these things. If you try to listen also, okay, if you cannot chant, you listen within yourselves. That also will help you to inculcate spirituality and you improve yourselves in different ethical and human values inside you. And ultimately, it will help you to grow yourselves and also the organizations and the part of the organizations where the CSR values when you are talking, so those will definitely improve if you can follow certain things. So don't wait for this and practice and all these things. You start immediately. Very little amount of time, 5 to 10 minutes. I advocate at least 10 minutes time. Or you start with doing little bit of silently. You sit and try to do little bit of meditations in your place, workplace at least. It will help you out to do certain things that you are working on regular basis. You can do it in a much better way. I am giving you guarantee that this kind of practices, if you start today, and you can find this 15 minutes on regular basis, if you do, after 30 days, you just report back to me that whether you feel any improvement in yourselves. You can find that your improvement is there within yourselves, definitely. So that it is a definite solutions of controlling our emotion, controlling our stress, and controlling our different activities, what we do in our offices on regular basis. So I think I talked a lot of things about these instruments. Now go into the next slide.
So one question, sir, related to the time duration. You say for meditation, yoga, like I said, 15 minutes. Like maybe sometimes you can take it like 10 minutes also.
Yes.
So is there anything like specifically for the best effort, and then to get the best result, do we need to follow any specific timelines for this?
Yeah,
So
that's
like
why
1 hour for yoga, and
yeah,
15 minutes for
yeah,
meditation.
yeah. So that actually it all depends upon the how much time you can give. More time you, if you want to give, you can give. But I am talking about that some optimum timing which human body can really do this practice and all these things. That is 2 hours actually. It is the time I am telling to you. In 2 hours, you have to most of the time you have to do it. Pranayams, yogas, and this chanting of the mantras. These three things actually help you out in a 2 hours activity if you can plan it. That's why I told about this morning time, 3:30 to 5:30. So one of the ideal time by which you can do certain period of time pranayam, certain time of period of time the meditations, yogas, and certain time in that chanting different mantras. Okay, so this will definitely help you out. There is no fixed this one timing for doing this. More and more you do, more and more you will get the result faster. That is the truth, this one. But I'm talking about the official work and all these things when you are doing. So that part will definitely improve. Then you can start your timing. You can give more timing in your house and all these things. And there is another time people normally tell about before the sun rises and after the sunset. These are the two important timings for doing all these practices. So before the sun rises, that's why people tells about the 3:30 to 5:30, and after the sun rises also this can be done. That is after 5:30 also this can be done normally. So 5:30 to 7:30 in the evening also may be a good time, but not as good as in the morning. Okay, so that is the ideal timing. So depends upon that how much time is there with you that you can practice it. But 10 to 15 minutes time one practices, he will definitely get the result, and based on the findings he or she can practice it on a regular basis, or can increase the timing of doing these practices.
Okay, got it, sir.
Okay. So next now you see that is this is very very important way how I was talking about different practices. So how, what is the path of getting into this spirituality, how to improve, and how it works in the human body, that has been shown here. That is called the path of spirituality. So everyday's work and all these things. Okay, so this how we tackle those kind of things, those have been shown here in short how you do it by yourselves. Okay, so everyday mystic, okay, generosity of the spirits, passion, okay, the way of the heart, okay, way of the faith, how it improves upon in the spirituality. Then there is some sort of forgiveness that comes, thy will not mine be done. It is a word from the Bible. So it is talks about the forgiveness, contemplation, and transformation within yourselves. That is also last part of this. So transformations of your thought process. So those are the things at the path of spirituality, that how is improvement takes place while you are practicing the spirituality. Next. Now, what are the after effects or the outcome? This is very, very important. Why you will practice the spirituality? That we call it as a fruits of spirituality. When you do these practices, what you will gain out of it, how your workplace culture will improve. So if anybody does it religiously or correctly, so forgiveness and control of mind, this will definitely will increase. Then control of senses. So we are having different senses in our body. So those kind of all you can control yourselves. Okay. You can see also that if you do the spiritual practices and all these things, one of the very important thing is that one of the senses while you are taking food, suppose very important examples. So first you are having good appetite of taking very delicious foods and all these things. Now, by practicing spirituality, sometimes you can find your sense can control now your food habits. Okay. Sometimes this spirituality also gives you one idea that human body actually God has prepared for vegetarian food only, not for non-vegetarian food. Our all the body parts which have been formed by God is for vegetarian practices or vegetarian food only. It can only digest vegetarian food. Now, if we take the non-vegetarian food, okay, what will happen here? That different parts of the body will adapt to it. They have to do overwork certain times. Okay, so definitely there will be wear and tear, and all these things will happen inside the organs. Okay, so after effect of that, a lot of diseases and all these things will happen in the human body. So I'm talking about the control of senses. One of the senses I've taken into the picture here. So that is the appetite for taking food and all these things, how we sense our the different organs. So ultimately, you can get a lot of benefits out of it. You see, the human body, as per Purans and all these things, have been created for 100 years. Okay, one standard human body God has created for 100 years. But you can say that somebody is dying at 70 years, somebody is dying 50 years, somebody is dying 40 years, somebody is living 100 years also, 100 more than 100 years also, nearing 100 years. You see, these all comes into this kind of thing, practices and all these things, and mainly the food habits come into the play. Those people who are vegetarians, chances of getting a lot of diseases and all these things are very, very less into them. Okay, so that's why control of senses are very, very important, and that's why the spiritual people, you cannot find any people, the spiritual people normally are the vegetarians. Okay, because of that. Even not only the spiritual people, I have seen the people whom I have interacted in the very high level of corporate positions there. They are all vegetarians. I have never found a person so far in my life, at least I have not found in different organizations that person is non-vegetarian. It's all people are vegetarian. All CEOs and all these things you can find, they are most of them are vegetarians. I have never seen so far non-vegetarian people who are in very high positions. So that's why control of senses is very, very important to get the success in life. Okay, thoughts, words, and deeds. So what we talk, it matters. Same type of thing. Suppose if I some work has come, some customer has given me some work. If Prasanna is a head of this one unit, if he tells to his colleague, okay, like ex-colleague, some colleague like Pooja, okay. Now, if he tells Pooja, you have to do this work very immediately, and I want this work within 10 minutes. Okay, customer wants this, I want. This is one way of talking your words. But he can also take, Pooja, are you free now? Actually, I am having some work with me. If you are free, that just look at it. If you can spare some time and do this work, or if you are having any other suggestions on this. Okay, so these are the words. Actually, it counts. It counts in CSR. It counts in the work culture also. How you are presenting yourselves. Okay, the words are very, very important. Okay, how you are presenting yourselves. The same words you are telling okay, and getting the works done. Some people, they get the works done very quickly. Some people, they cannot give the importance to the words. They think that bossism is the main power of getting the works done from the juniors. It is not at all. Okay, your words, your deeds, how we are dealing with them is very, very important. That's why. So words plays an important role, and these can be controlled definitely by spirituality. This is no this one hesitation about this, saying all these things. So words are very, very important here. Okay, somebody's words are also in genetically also, or some he does or she does the practices, but his words are not improving. These also are there. Words are very harsh. People think that he is a very harsh person. He's a very bad person. It is not like that. He's a very good person. But his words are like that. He cannot speak the sweet words to the colleagues. Okay, this happens. This happens for some time. But when these kind of things happens now, and for a period of time, then colleagues may understand. Yes, this man is not that man. What I am thinking, he is a good man. Okay, his deeds. That's why deeds comes into the play. Okay, words and deeds. So how the works are getting done, how the person is doing the work, all these things, that's why it comes into the picture. It is not like that every time you will use the sweet words and getting the words done. Sometimes your deeds will be like that, that your past record is also like that, that you have done certain things very harshly or certain things and you are getting the works done. So that is coming under the deeds. Okay, but it is better always to speak the words, control the words, and getting the things done. Okay, so that is the way of getting the spirituality, and this is one of the ways also that outcome how it comes from spirituality. Endurance, of course, you will sustain yourself. You will over the period of time. Actually, this will come endurance that will improve, and when the endurance will be there with you, you can take the workload. Many types of workload you can take within these 8 hours of time. So your boss did not to say, you will be self-motivated person. This is very, very important in spirituality. This is the outcome of the spirituality, that you self-motivations. Okay, your boss should not say to you that you should do this work. You have to find your this one work from him. That what I am free now. Tell me what I have to do. So that self-endurance comes into the play. You can do more and more work into that. Many times people are there who are doing such kind of things now. They have gone into the top of this ladder because of this kind of attitude. Because management knows this man works. This man works. If I don't say also, this man will work. Okay, I'm giving my examples also to you that in different organizations when I work, and I'm a little bit of addicted to the work sometimes. Okay, and many times that's why when I was working in Bureau Veritas, their management give me the cautions that some of the leaves they have given me, I could not utilize those leaves. I didn't take that leave. Leave I have given to the office. Okay, without getting any money and these things. They warned me that you cannot do like this. You have to do this balance of your work and your life. So compulsorily you have to take this kind of leave. So we have to give them. They send me in their own money once now to in a personal trip, but official they converted into Singapore and Malaysia, giving full this one DA and all the benefits to me with my family to Malaysia and Hong Kong to stay in their very good hotels and all these things with marketings and all these things. Okay, they told me that you have to go, otherwise you cannot give your full energy into it. So that is very good companies. They see their staffs in that fashion. They free their staffs into that fashion, keep them free for certain time to get the maximum works done for them. Okay, so this is one of the ways actually many good management they get the things done, and endurance, that quality is getting developed on those people also. So that is very important in spirituality. Faith, yes, faith is very, very important. You should believe your staffs. Okay, in the work culture, that is very, very important that one should believe the staffs. Suppose when Mr. Prasanna is giving some work to Rupa or somebody, so he has that faith in her. Okay, so faith is very, very important. Without faith, actually, you cannot get the works done. So that parts of the particular faith is very, very important, and that faith also comes from again from the spirituality. How we can believe a person's that kind of, you see that sense when you are talking about spirituality, we talk about the sense. So it is related to the sense. You can understand, yes, this person is capable of doing this work. That's why I'm giving this work to him. That faith. So Mr. Prasanna will not give that work to other guys. He will give only to Puja or Dupa or somebody else. Okay. Why? Because he has faith. Okay. That comes from his sense. So how that sense has been developed? Sense has been inherently developed also, but it can be further modified, either purified by doing the spiritual practices. So that's why it is also another fruit of spirituality to understand who is good and who is bad. That kind of understanding you can immediately understand. I know certain people who have done this, who are doing this spirituality for a longer time. Lot of after effect benefits they are getting out of it. It is not only that understanding that who is good and who is bad. It is very easy. One can understand through work also. But from the spirituality, many things can be inculcated. Many different powers will come inside you. You can feel that. Sometimes you will feel the sense of a lot of aromas. There is no aroma around you. But with these practices for a longer period of time and huge durations you are doing, so you can find certain aromas coming into this in your this one. You can sense certain aromas and all this, but aroma is not there anywhere. So there are many such. Some people they can find certain things will happen in future. They can see their dream. They can see it in their dream that will happen. Somebody's close relative will die. There are many instances like this. They get that kind of sense with that. Some of the sense they have developed through certain means. So they can understand, yes, this man will die. People will tell him mad. If you tell that, yes, I have seen that my close relative will die, other relatives will tell you is a person, a mad person, cannot. So certain kind of things also develop over a period of time, certain which is good and which is bad, which are going to happen in the future. That's why futuristic approach is another way that spirituality, the good leaders, their vision, the vision improves. Vision improves with the spirituality. Mr. Prasanna practices this one, he can see the prospect of RSJ after 10 years. So that is the advantage of spirituality, that vision increases actually, inner vision. So you can anticipate this will happen, this will happen. So what are the things I should do? What are the different areas I should invest my people? And what are the different areas I should do my business in a better way? So this kind of increases, this kind of things can also improve when we are doing these spiritual practices. And most important thing, there's the last part, is the equilibrium, balance, and normalness. Many people, when in the crisis moment, they actually found that they lost their equilibrium. Equilibrium or balancing of their thoughts, balancing of their mind, balancing of their words, what we are speaking. So that equilibrium of the body is getting disturbed due to certain other means, okay, external forces. So that can be really controlled by doing these spiritual practices. Okay, many times in the family, I'm giving some examples now. Suppose you are after the walks, you are going to your home and find that lot of crisis things are there, crisis moments are there, and all these things. And you are already overburdened with crisis in the office, and you are going to the family, and you find that the more and more it will increase. Okay, crisis moments and all these things. You are getting overburdened with the thoughts and all these things. And in that time, every possibility is that you will lose your balance or the equilibrium of the body. You do certain things that is not desirable. Okay, so those kind of control can happen, or you can control by doing this spirituality. One practice I got very good success into this, that not now, previous other works and all these things, when I was staying with my families and all these things. When I was coming from the office now, especially in the third party organizations and all these things, huge amount of stress and all these things are there. And we have to carry forward that one on the next day also, because you know that I have to give the reports on this day, I have to give this reply on this day. Otherwise, the bosses will be very angry and all these things. So in those cases, actually it helps you out. Okay, by doing these spiritual practices, what I understand, I told my family members, don't talk to me for at least for 15 minutes when I come from the office to this one. So what I was doing into that 15 minutes, I was doing this kind of certain practices. It is not pranayam, it is a little bit of meditations I was doing. I have increased over a period of time to now it is 45 minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes I started, then it has become 45 minutes.
So every day, after going back
Going back home, I will suggest not to talk with anybody. Tell them not to disturb you. No talk. Until and unless you allow them to talk with you, please do not tell them to talk with you, because you are overburdened with many things. Okay, and with work and all these things, and they are also having, they will tell also many things. So please hold them. You tell them to hold on for 10 to 15 minutes. After that, you listen to them. You can find you are a different persons to handle the situations. Okay, so that is very, very important practice actually, and that's why the spirituality increases the equilibrium, balance, and normalness of this body. You become normal persons by doing this spiritualism and all these things practices. So those are the things I'm telling, very important tips of the life and all these things. So those things will improve. Another very important thing in the human values, it increases. You have heard the term of sympathy. Sometimes you feel sympathetic with certain people, sympathetic with your fellow colleagues and all these things, sympathetic for certain situations. Okay, some relative has died, some mishap happened and all these things. You feel sympathetic about a certain persons. Okay. Now there is another important thing improves with the spirituality is the empathy. How many people have understood the meaning of empathy? Empathy. You see, the empathy is a very, very useful term and it improves. What do you mean? Means that a certain situation happened to somebody. Okay. And like Mr. Prasanna is having a colleague, he is having some problems in the family or somewhere. Okay. So he's talking about that and all these things. So I have no doubt he has sympathy onto this. But what is empathy? Empathy means how better realizations of their problems, how you understand, to keep yourself in the same shoe. Like you are there at that person. It is happened for you only. It has not happened for your colleague. It has happened to you. Then how you will react into this? Then only you can visualize the problem correctly of that person, and you can take the right decisions about that person's. So that is called the empathy. So this empathy, sympathy is there in the human mind. You need not to inculcate much by doing spiritual practices, but empathy for that spiritual practices are required. So that's why empathy is very empathy towards the fellow colleagues in the workplace, very, very important. That is the caring, sharing and caring, the very, very important terminology in human values. That's why. So workplace culture improves when you share your ideas and you care your people. Okay, that improves a lot, and that can be practiced through spirituality. So this is one of the greatest outcome. Next. Business and all these things, actually I don't want to share much, because you know much better regard doing this lot of business and all these things, economic needs of the society, exchange of goods and services. So what is there with you and what you want, so that is actually the business. So it helps in business. Now you understand why it helps in business, to do it perfectly, do it in a balanced fashion. Okay, in a profitable way. Next. So corporate scenario, as you all know, it is hierarchical, financial dependency, mechanical system. All these things are driven because a lot of institutions are there. They lack value, and responsibility is more into that. So in that, this is the corporate scenario nowadays. Mechanical system have happened, hierarchy of the staffs, financial dependency. All is giving burden on your mind. Next. So man become a machine, very, very important. Materialism comes into the play. Okay. and all external sources are affecting your brain, that we are talking here. Next. So in a scenario, you can see that the past burden, I was talking about the past burden when it comes, excessive past, okay, and future anticipation, unfulfilled longings, leading to stress-driven life. So do you want this stress-driven life? If you want to get rid of this kind of life, then you have to do the meditations, pranayam, yogas, or in turn the spiritual practices. Definitely spiritual practices. This man, what is shown in the figure, he has not done these spiritual practices. That's why the situation is like this. Present and future anticipations, all this stress-driven life. So that has happened to this kind of persons. These kind of persons are also available in the society, in our offices also. Next. So to get rid of that, the spirituality, that's why comes into the picture, and proper directions it gives in the mind, meaning of certain things. You will get balanced approach. All these things what I discussed about you, how you balance yourself in the work, and ultimately what do you gain out of this? You will get satisfaction. You will get the delight about yourselves, you will get happiness, and finally you will get the forgiveness. So forgiving is very, very important terminology. The Christians, they told about this. Even the circle of spirituality, the one of the part is the forgiveness. That's why somebody has done certain mistakes in our culture, office culture. We do mistakes. While people doing work, they will do the mistakes. But the forgiveness of that mistakes. Okay, you have to forgive in certain period of time. So this comes from the spirituality. Okay, not to take action against that person, give another chance to that person to rectify himself or herself. So forgiveness, that's why he also plays an important role in this spirituality. And you will be delighted about yourselves that you have improved as a human being. Okay, you are doing such a certain kind of things that people are happy with you, that happiness will increase within yourself. So when people are happy in the organization, you will be happy in the organizations. So those kind of thing, you will be delighted also within yourselves, and definitely it will give the satisfaction out of this. So forgiveness is not that going back kind of thing, or you are weak. It is not like that. Forgiveness is a particular quality of a human being, okay, human values. So that should be there in the uh, work culture also, and spirituality will improve by doing these different practices. This particular quality also will increase, and it will give you the better outputs ultimately at the end of the day. Better output means better future, better customer handling, better business, and ultimately the profit. So spirituality also depends on the profit. It will relate with the profit. So by doing a simple practice, you can do a lot of gains out of it. Okay, by these kind of practices. Next. So these are the four pillars of life, as already you know that physical, mental, emotional. So these three things are there, but above all, that what we are talking is the spiritual pillar of the life. So that controls everything. Your physical posture, physical things of your body, mental aspects of your body, emotions, different emotions there. So that can be overcome by these spiritual practices. So spiritual practices is one of the top pillars. That's why four pillars out of that, it is in the top of the list. Spiritual practices in human being. Next.
So this one you are meaning like spiritual being the top, and then it's coming all. So you can hear to control
Yeah.
other because
Yeah.
you are saying like that.
You can control. You see, by doing these spiritual practices now, other pillars of life can easily be controlled. Okay. Now, physical, it is related to the body. Okay, human body. Mental means your thought process and all these things. Emotions is one of the result of this thought process. So ultimately, when you are become spiritual, you can control your emotions by doing certain practices. Your mental mapping will improve by doing the spirituality, by doing pranayams, mantras, and all these things. And ultimately, physical health will increase because you will not suffer any kind of disease and all these things. Okay. So this is one of the outcome of doing these spiritual practices. I'm giving another example of myself. I don't believe that, I don't know whether you will believe or not. The last medicine I took in 2012,
Oh, wow.
last medicine I took, I
Wow.
still remember. Okay. And now it is 2022, 10 years. No medicine has gone inside my body.
Wow.
I felt disease and all these things, but I didn't take anything. It is cured automatically. Body healing power increases with this. Doing these spiritual practices, body has that immunity and all these things getting developed, because mentally you have become very balanced person. So your mental health when increases. Now, actually, our mind controls our body. It is not that body controls our mind. So if your mental health is very strong, your body also will be very strong into that. Maybe you are not a body builder kind of structure you will have, but your body structure and body, this one physical part of the body will definitely improve upon. So those things actually, it's very much. Yeah. And
Just to ask the question, like how many hours you daily spending for this yoga and meditation?
no, I do that morning. I do the 3:30 to 5:30, and then evening time I do around 45 minutes.
Okay.
So around 2 hours 45 minutes, and another buffer is there for me. It is around 10 minutes. That is before going to sleep. Very important. This is not included in my presentations. Before going to sleep, sometimes the sleep is getting disturbed due to many other reasons. Okay. So to overcome that, I do another 2-3 practices into that in the form of yogas. Those yogas can be done in the bed itself before going to sleep. Okay, some mantras and some yogas, 2-3 yogas, not more. So within 10 minutes. After that, I sleep very sound sleep. Okay, I don't remember anything into that sleep. Okay, so that way it improves. Okay, so that's why this pillars very this one easy to understand how it reacts or how it relates with different body parts and mental parts and emotional parts. The spiritual practices will definitely give you this fruit onto this. Some people, they do practice much more than that, so they are having better fruits than me. I got some fruits from doing this practice. Maybe they have done a much better way and more time they have devoted. They have got much. This all depends upon the practice. Okay, practice, and practice. So this part of spirituality all depends upon that. Okay, and this is one of the way. And another way is the God's grace. It is also required this little bit of grace of God, whatever you are doing. Okay, so that God grace is, some people are not doing anything, but they are graced by God. They are having all these things with them, with the God's grace. So they are superpower kind of thing, supernatural people there. Okay, but this has not come in one birth. Purification of the soul happens with the spirituality. Like here today, you are in a position. Okay, next part maybe in a different state of spiritual, but it all depends upon any practice. It is not like that without doing any you will go to the higher level of your this one. That you cannot do. So you have to do the practice. You have to do this spiritualism and all these things. Then only you will get the God's grace. Okay, you have to do the practice. So that's why you will improve your spiritual. Actually, what happens, it is not only the what balance what I am talking. Your spiritual balance when improves, now your soul is getting purified. That is in the spiritual front of these practices. Your soul when it is getting improved, now you will go into the next level. Okay, not in the present birth, maybe in the next birth. Who can tell? Okay. So that's why it is a very scientific terminology, very scientific way spiritualism can be practiced also. It is not only that only God's grace and all. God will not grace you unless you are doing some effort. Your effort is very much important, that's why. So that way only you will help yourself to get. Good body cannot come with only by this one normal life leading. You have to do certain practices. Then only your body will improve. Your breathing practices will improve. Your food habit will increase, will improve upon. So all these things comes from there only. The practices, spiritual practices. That's why it helps. Okay. Okay. Next. So I already talked about this part. When you talk about the body, mind, emotions, and behavior, And what are the after effects? You can see that the mind, a lot of worries and all these things are there. Okay, negativity in the mind comes. Okay, behavior also, you will lose your appetite sometimes. Okay, so a lot of things that you cannot sleep in the night properly, restlessness and all these things in your behavior when you are not balanced properly. Emotions, depression is one of the greatest killers of human being. This depression of mind. Okay, so those you will always feel that you are inferior to others when in the spiritualism and all this. If you do the spiritual practices and all these things, you will definitely feel a little bit of affront on others. I do practices and all these things, so I will not be afraid of anything. So this kind of courage will increase on your mind. So courageousness and all these things. Okay. Now we are talking about the body also. Sometimes I forgot to give you another examples. My examples, whatever little I do, you see that at the age of my 61 and a half years, there is no specs on my this one. So my vision is a normal vision. So because of that, many things improves. It is not only that the human organs and all these things, now there is a get change happens by these different kind of practices and all these things. So body comes into the picture. That's why.
So in these 62 years, how many years you have been practicing this now?
Around last this very constructive way I'm practicing for the from 2005 onwards.
2005 onwards.
Before that also from my childhood actually it was there in my mind. Okay. Somehow in the very early age also I was doing this one. Nobody told me to do, but I was doing some practices and all these things. It happens. It is the God grace. So I knew the things, but I could not implement it. But from 2005 onwards, God has given a little bit of more grace to me so that I can do more now. Okay, so it again depends upon this grace of the God and little bit of your earlier works and all these things what you have done. So that way, this you see body, mind, emotions, and behavior, all these things changes. There is another very interesting thing is that very simple thing that in the body when you are talking now, sometimes like a headache is a very common thing in the workplace. Headache due to too much work or weariness and all these things. Then infections, a lot of body infections and all these things. Those things happen. Skin irritations. These are another indications of stress. Sometimes you will feel a lot of you have to scratch your body and all these things. So that is also coming out from this imbalance of your body. So all these things without taking, and people normally taking tablets and all these things when there is one headache kind of thing. Okay, so that kind of things can be controlled here. You will not feel any kind of such situations. So your medical expenditure on your body will improve. So it will not be there at all. So those kind of things really helpful for this doing these practices, spiritual practices. It is not only so if you are fit, you will think much more in a better way, and you will tackle your staffs in a much better way and your customers, and ultimately it is going to the profit of the organizations. So spiritualism gives profit to the organizations if you relate all these things together. Okay. So next. So why I already told you that before coming the slides coming, I'm explaining to you because due to the questions and all these things that Mr. Prasanna is asking. So individual organizations can see work as an opportunity to grow and contribute. So work is an opportunity. By doing work only you can understand and you can contribute to the society. So you have to do your work. Okay. Next. Values and objectives. Okay, this is not the normal work. It should be guided by the values leading from the front, and some objectives should be there in your life. So that will definitely improve. Okay, if you do this spiritualism. There is a monk and tourist story. I want to avoid this because lack of time and all these things is there now. Okay, I've already exceeded. Next. So all the powers lies with you, within you. This is also the your words of Swami Vivekananda. So you need not to take the help of go to temple, need not to go to the church, need not to go to the masjid and all these things. All the powers lies with you. You are the God. that I told you in the first or second slide, that you, what does this mean? The last word, it is you. You is nothing but God. Okay, so all the powers, you are the one of the your this one parts of the God. So God is there within you. You are also a God inside. Many of the, you can see the many of the gurus, they were the human being that they have become God. Lord Sai and Sai Babas and all these things, they become God. Maybe after another 500 years, they will be the real God. People will be there like God, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and all these things. They will be created like Ramdev. So they will become God, not now. They are the human being. They are teaching all these people now. But maybe after another 500 years, they will become like a God. So you will get a lot of temples and all these things where this Ramdev will be there as a God into that. So that, because we are all gods. God's power is there with us. How you are utilizing, how you are motivating yourselves, how you are developing that part of the human brain. That is very, very important. Okay. So that all the powers, that's why lies with you. You can do wonders in your life. All the full power is there with you. Okay. So how you are utilizing those things, that is very important. Okay, you don't feel depressed about yourselves by your activity. Okay, so always think that you are the part of the God. You can do wonders in life. Maybe certain situation is compelling that you cannot do it, but the power is there within you. You can motivate that power, do certain practices. That's why spirituality comes. The spirituality is one of the way by which you can motivate yourself. You can just make yourself power of the God, to feel yourself the power of God. God has given all the power. So it is not that somebody is seeing that future. It is not very unnatural. Somebody is seeing the death of somebody 10 days before. It is not unnatural at all. It is all natural, because you are there. You are as a God. You can predict anything. Okay, you can predict the future. So that is there. Power lies with us. Next. Principles, and in business there are Nishkam karmas that Bhagavad Gita has told. So there are 3 C's of spirituality in the workplace. Mahatma Gandhi also talks about trusteeship in the spirituality, then vertical and horizontal spirituality, implementations of corporate governance. So these are all the principles of spirituality in the business. So these are all known facts. Let us see how are those. Nishkam karma, of course, don't worry about the result, and already you know that. Okay, so work and life balance, of course, you have to do it, but do your work sincerely. That is the main part of this Bhagavad Gita and Nishkam karma. Okay, so 3 C's of spirituality talks about this very, very important word, that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that they called in spirituality, in the connections to the society, connection to the family, connections to all in the earth. Then compassion about the animal, plant kingdom, and all these things, that comes from the spirituality. Contribution to the welfare of the society, it comes in the CSR. They talks about the spirituality. Ultimately, CSR is nothing but a spiritualism. Okay, so contribution to the society, contribution to the fellow colleagues, and all these things. So all these things comes from these 3 C's of spirituality. Compassion is very, very important in our business also, that you have to be very careful about saving the plant kingdom, the sustainability. People are talking about this. So sustainable fashion has come also through compassion. So compassionate fashion. Okay, many of the buyers you can see nowadays, the hair fibers and all these things, some Angora rabbit hair, they have removed that. Many people like H&M, they don't use the silk also, because we are killing the cocoons inside the silk. Okay, so those kind of compassion, it comes from the spirituality. Okay, and this is the part of the CSR. And connection to the world, of course, art. Okay, art is your family. So everybody is your family member. Nobody is your enemy in this world. You have to think about yourselves. So how you will take it into account and go further by practicing spirituality. Next. Trusteeship. So it is again talking about the individual growth. Nature provides enough to satisfy his man needs and not his greeds. Okay, so that is the trusteeships. and focusing on inclusive growth. Okay, growth of individual. First, growth will be yours, and then the society. First, you will do the practices for yourselves and to the society. So that will give the trusteeship. Okay, so greeds should not be satisfied, but needs must be satisfied, as per this Mahatma Gandhi about spiritualism. Next. Now, vertical and horizontal spirituality, when you are talking, it talks about realization of the spirituality. That is the vertical spirituality. You realize, you plan yourselves how you will do this spiritualism within yourselves. Then you distribute that spirituality to the nations, okay, to the real world. So that is the horizontal spiritualism or spirituality. Okay, so that your divine potential now you will spread across the world. So that is called the horizontal spirituality. Next. So corporate governance, as we are talking, so by which business corporations are directed and controlled. I already discussed this character. The company is to have the values, the relationship with its customers, employees, communities, and shareholders. So those kind of things all will improve the corporate governance under this spiritualism. Next. I think there is one video we can see also for a few minutes.
To my channel. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. Spirituality is not something we should practice only when it suits us according to time and place. It should be cherished and cultivated wherever we go. And since we spend most of our time in the workplace, it is imperative that we take our spiritual values with us even where we work. These values are creativity, communication, respect, vision, partnership, energy and flexibility. All these 7 are related, and all are important at our workplaces. Thus practicing spirituality means being as follow. Number 1. Be creative. Creativity includes the use of color, laughter and freedom to enhance productivity. Creativity is fun. When people enjoy what they do, they work much harder. Creativity includes conscious efforts to see things differently, to break out of habits and outdated beliefs, to find new ways of thinking, doing and being. Suppression of creativity leads to violence. People are naturally creative. When they are forced to crush their creativity, its energy force turns to destructive. Their inherent humanity must express itself. 2. Be communicative. Communication, communication, communication. This is the vehicle that allows people to work together. In our society, our learning process is based on learning to communicate with teachers and parents. So when we come to the real world, this social conditioning leads us to resort to subterfuge, trying to figure out how to beat the system, gain extra favors, say the popular thing, or to keep our views to ourselves rather than rock the boat. We should change this mindset and express what we feel about without fear and let others know where we stand. It does not matter, your views should match your superiors. Your peers will respect you as a man with principles. 3. Respect your colleague. Respect of self and of others includes respect for the environment, other people's personal privacy, their physical space and belongings. Different viewpoints, philosophies, religion, gender, lifestyle, ethnic origin, physical ability, beliefs and personality. When we learn to respect our peers, we accept their differences. We can learn to use those differences for our mutual benefit. For example, the person who can sit all day in front of a computer and be productive can help the person who works best by talking and moving around. Both functions are important. Rather than criticizing the other for being different, we can learn how different people see the world. Lacks of respect and acceptance lead to conflict and hostility. 4. Have a vision. Vision means seeing beyond the obvious, seeing the unseen. It is a trait used to describe leaders and entrepreneurs. Where does vision come from? For some people, it is an inborn trait. They have always seen things that others cannot see. And, having seen the vision, they head straight for it. They follow their vision in spite of obstacles or non-believers. 5. Learn to be a partner. Partnership encompasses individual responsibility and trust that other people will perform according to their commitments for the good of the team and partners. Partnership accepts that different people have different viewpoints and beliefs. Those differences are used as positive aspects for broadening the team experience. Partnership encourages the female and male aspects of us to work together, without either one overruling or dominating the other. Lacks of partnership lead to isolation and unhealthy competition. 6. Be energetic. Very positive energy forces are released when people feel creative, have the freedom to express their opinions, and feel respect from their management and their peers. The opposite energy force creates hostile workplace situations. Your contribution to the collective positive energy is using your own creativity, communicating well, having respect for others, adapting to changing situations, working well with others, and enjoying what you do. Your contribution to the collective negative energy is withholding your talents, communicating without respect, fighting and arguing with others, resisting changes, creating tension with others and hating what you do. 7. Be flexible. Flexibility includes the ability to adapt to changing situations and allowing one's own beliefs and habits to change as needed. Learning to see trends and prepare for them is one way of learning flexibility. Another is to learn about our own strengths, our weaknesses and about self. Thanks for watching.
You have seen that what are the things improvement is possible through spiritual practices. Now final this one will come into the conclusions after this, that our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he talks about also this CSR activity through spiritual work. There is a Manav Kalyan, that is human well-being is possible, tension-free world, to spread the message of Sadbhavana. So that kind of message is there from our prime ministers. So spiritual practices are becoming a part and parcel of the workplace. Then only you can serve the nation in a better way. Next. Then dive into yourselves. Meditation helps to find a newer you. So you have a new persons after doing these meditations. Next. So concluding remarks, we can make it in this fashion, that individuals and organizations who start seeing work as a spiritual path, they should always see everything as an opportunity to grow, contribute to the society in a meaningful way. Care, compassion is very, very important to support others, and integrity needs to be a part of the self. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, we should love the world. Okay, we should respect the world and the people. Okay. So thank you very much.